When I was growing up, there were so many Vauxhall Astras on the road, and that's because it was a pretty popular choice among UK consumers due to its affordable nature, although I was never too fond of it due to its pretty ugly exterior design. Sorry, Vauxhall. But a lot has changed since then, because now in its 8th generation model, it's more stylish than it ever has been. And it also is available as a hybrid powertrain, and that's exactly what we have on review. Now, the bad news is it starts from £37,000, with the Ultimate and GSE trims coming in at a whopping £40,000. So in this review, you can see if it's actually worth its price tag and how it compares to some of its modern rivals. Now, to kick off this video, we have to talk about efficiency, because arguably it might be one of the most important factors while considering the hybrid variant. Now, here the manufacturer says that you've got a 12.4 kilowatt hour battery pack, which should give you roughly 43 miles of range, at least on the WLTP test cycle. However, from our own mixed driving tests, we actually only netted 13 miles of electric range. Now, we've reached out to Vauxhall to see if there's a fault in this vehicle, or indeed if it was running a smaller battery pack for some reason, but it is quite odd to see such a discrepancy. Just to put it into context, other plug-in hybrids that we've tested that have a similar sort of battery configuration net roughly 30 to 38 miles of electric range, and one would have expected that in the Astra. Now, with that aside, it is worth pointing out that for you to drive as efficiently as possible and while driving in electric mode to regain energy back into the battery pack, you might want to enable a degree of regenerative braking. And indeed you can do so by simply tapping on the B button that can be found towards the center console. It'll have a degree of deceleration when you're lifting off the accelerator pedal. Of course, if you don't want to have that, then you don't need to, because you can simply just coast regularly on the drive mode. Now, aside from recouping energy while on the move, you can also plug it in while stationary, and here the onboard charger is rated at 3.7 kilowatts. Thus, using an appropriate charge point, you can go from 0 to 100% in just 3.5 hours. If, however, you want to reduce this to 2 hours, you can upgrade the onboard charger to 7 kilowatts for £500. Now, if you haven't got access to a wall box charger and simply want to plug it in using a domestic 3-pin socket, it will take 5.5 hours instead. Now, aside from pure electrification, what about when it comes to its petrol portion? Well, here you've got a 42-litre tank, which therefore gives you roughly 300 miles of range, at least on a full tank. And of course, that depends as to how you drive and where you drive. Now, this is down from 52 litres from the regular petrol and diesel models. So it's just worth considering that you'll go further on a singular tank of fuel on the non-hybrid models. Now, in terms of the MPG figure, which will definitely be of concern and of interest to a lot of people, here we netted 53.8 MPG in our mixed driving tests, which is actually not too bad in the grand scheme of things. See here, if you compare it to some of its competitors, they hit roughly 55 MPG. Now, considering we had such a short electric range, we can expect this figure to actually grow to maybe even 60 MPG or even 65 MPG, which would certainly put it on there with some of the best hybrids on the market. Ultimately here, and when it comes to fuel efficiency and effectively where it really counts, the Astra Hybrid actually does a pretty decent job. Now, on the subject of fuel efficiency and electrification, we have to commend Vauxhall for the seamless transition between pure EV mode and petrol mode. Indeed, you do not hear or feel it, and the only real way to actually tell is if you glance towards your instrument cluster, or for example the head-up display on the Ultimate or GSE trims, and look at the speedometer. Here, when it's in blue, it's on pure EV mode, and when it's in white, it's in petrol mode. Now, similarly, its 8-speed automatic transmission is buttery smooth, although you will notice a little bit of a delay when initiating a kickdown or going between gear 1 or 2. Now, it's worth noting that in comparison to the fully petrol or diesel models, the Astra Hybrid does not have a means of going in full manual mode. And by that we mean that even though you were to adjust the gears on the fly via the use of the flappy paddles that can be found behind the steering wheel, it will still reinitiate automatic mode after a certain amount of time. Now, speaking about putting down the power, let's talk about performance. And here we have got a front-mounted 1.6 litre 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine, which combines with an 81 kilowatt electric motor. Now, the combination means that the hybrid model dispatches 133 kilowatts of power, and that equates to 178 horsepower, giving you 360 newton meters of torque. Here it's claimed to run from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 7.7 seconds, but we actually had it tested via RaceLogic's V-Box Sport at 7.58 seconds. As for top speed, it's rated at 140 miles an hour. Now, if you do want some extra oomph, you might want to consider the GSE variant, whereby you've got 165 kilowatts of power, while still giving you 360 newton meters of torque. You have got a slightly faster 0 to 60 claim of 7.5 seconds. Elsewhere, you've also got a faster top speed of 146 miles an hour. Now, the GSE model will also give you slightly better driving dynamics, due to it being lowered by roughly 10 millimeters. Now, this does actually bring us on to its handling characteristics. And here, the vehicle, no matter if you're going for the GSE, Ultimate or the GS trim, will operate on a front-wheel drive system only. Now, despite us putting the foot down to the metal, we didn't expect any sort of torque steer or front wheel spin, which is certainly appreciated. Better still, there is a good sort of connection with the front axle, and while it won't exactly give you that one-to-one driver's feel, it is certainly up there with one of the more fun cars to drive. Indeed, it's very easy to corner around windy country roads, and you'll have a sense of enjoyment, specifically in the sport mode, which stiffens up the steering wheel and gives you a bit more of that increased throttle response. Now, on those more challenging windy country routes, you'll find that the vehicle doesn't actually suffer from too much body lean, and indeed the suspension system does actually do a pretty good job. Equally, if you are going to be pottering in and around town, you'll find that it soaks up a lot of the anomalies, speed bumps, and also potholes. Now, while it won't compete with vehicles that have adaptive or indeed air suspension systems, it is still up there with providing a good overall driving experience. Now, aside from its handling characteristics, what will also constitute in you having a good driving experience is low cabin noise. And here, the Astra Hybrid, Ultimate and GSE trims have got a soundproof windscreen. Now, it is worth bearing in mind that in the Ultimate trim that we have on review, we did find it to do good at lower speeds, but unfortunately, road noise still did creep in at higher speeds. If you want a detailed breakdown of the sound measurements that we recorded, do check out our detailed audio review up on your pod banner, down in the description below, or indeed in the pinned comments. Now, this does actually perfectly bring us onto its audio system, and here, as standard on the GS and the GSE trims, you'll find a 6-speaker setup only. However, in the Ultimate trim, which we have on review, you'll find an 8-speaker setup, and that's because you have a dashboard speaker and also a subwoofer in the boot. And this will certainly bolster the overall experience that one can attain, and will definitely compete with some of the alternatives out there. Again, there's more information on our detailed audio review in case you're interested, but what we'll say in a nutshell is that if you're into your audio, you might want to consider the Ultimate trim for that reason alone. Now, this does perfectly bring us onto the use of technology within the cabin, and here you have got a 10-inch infotainment system that's fitted on all trim levels. It's very responsive, fluid, and intuitively laid out, and better still, supports Android Auto and Apple CarPlay both over a wired and wireless connection, which is certainly appreciated. Now, as for the instrument cluster, it has a fully digitalized 10-inch display, which is very vivid and does provide all the key driving information, although it's pretty disappointing not to see a degree of customization like you'd find on some rival alternatives. Furthermore, it's quite surprising that it doesn't actually feed through Android Auto or Apple CarPlay turn-based navigation. We say quite surprising because here on the head-up display, which is present only on the GSE and Ultimate trims, you will find this data fed through. Furthermore, through the head-up display, you'll also find key safety information and also your traversing speed, therefore allowing you to keep your eyes planted on the road rather than having to glance down at the instrument cluster or indeed the infotainment system. Now, on the subject of technology, we should actually commend Vauxhall for not going overboard with it, and by that we mean that some of its competitors have opted for haptic and capacitive touch buttons for your climate controls or indeed around the steering wheel, but thankfully that's not the case on the Vauxhall Astra, because here you've got physical climate control buttons towards the dashboard and physical buttons on the steering wheel, all of which make for a far more intuitive use on the go. Now, on that note, the Astra's interior design is certainly familiar, and we've got no real complaints about it, as it won't throw off certain consumers. However, our complaint is actually due to the overall choice of materials that are used. See here, you have got some glossy plastic found towards the center console, which will show up scratches very easily, and then hard plastic around the dashboard and also the door frames. Frankly here, given the price tag, one might have expected better, and if you compare it to the likes of offerings from Citroën, Audi or Mercedes-Benz, it simply does not stand a chance. Now, to further re-emphasize the point, both the front and rear door bins are not lined with any sort of fabric material, and as such means that if you are taking any sort of keys or loose change, they'll be heard rattling around, which therefore dampens the overall driving experience. Now, this does bring us on to storage, whereby at the front, the door bins will suffice for taking a 500ml bottle alongside a small to medium-sized purse or wallet. You've then got a pretty large glove compartment, which is certainly appreciated, and then you've even got a small little area whereby you can take your sunglasses or reading glasses, and that can be found towards the dashboard. Now, as for the center console, towards the top of it, you will find a retractable cover, which reveals a wireless smartphone charger, a 12-volt socket, a USB Type-A and Type-C port, which are all included as standard across all trim levels. Then you've also got another retractable area whereby you'll reveal 2 cup holders. Further down, a small little bay to place, for example, your wireless key fob, and then a small little area found within the armrest compartment, which actually reveals in a pretty snazzy way, like you'd find on the equivalent Mercedes-Benz or Audi. Now, as for the rear of the vehicle, it's unsurprisingly a little bit more limited, and here you have got the door bins, and then you have also got 2 cup holders that can be revealed within the pull-down armrest, of course, if you are not transporting a 5th occupant. Now, of course, when it comes to storage, we have to talk about its boot capacity, and unfortunately, it's only manually operated. There's no electric tailgate fitted as standard or indeed available as an option, which is quite a shame. Nonetheless, the tailgate itself does open up with that hatchback design, making it very easy to load in and out goods. Speaking of which, here you have got 352 litres to play around with, and this does increase up to 1,268 litres if you prop down the seats. Now, it's worth noting that this is lower than the non-hybrid variant, which offers 422 and 1,339 litres respectively. Now, aside from capacity, we get onto practicality, and here we've got an integrated ski latch fitted on all trim levels and a 60-40 rear split folding design on all the hatchback models. This does change to a 40-20-40 split on the Tourer variants. Now, all models will also have a flat loading bay, and that will be certainly appreciated by certain consumers. Our biggest complaint, however, is that on the Ultimate Hybrid that we have on review, there's actually no means of stowing away your charging cables. Indeed, over here, the subwoofer does take away some of the space in terms of the underfloor compartment storage that you would have otherwise had, and indeed over here, there's no place to store away the charging cables towards the front of the boot like you'd find on, for example, the Tourer models. Now, aside from transporting goods, what about when it comes to taking humans? Well, at the rear of the cabin, you can take 3 individuals, although it's worth noting that there is a transmission tunnel that's present, and therefore the rear middle occupant might be left a little bit uncomfortable, specifically for longer commutes. Now, as for headroom and legroom, I'm just under 6 foot, and here legroom is pretty limited, and similarly so is headroom. It will suffice for a shorter commute, so therefore I can't be overly critical, but it's just worth considering that if that is a key selling point for you, then you might want to look at some of the alternatives out there on the market, or indeed larger vehicles. Now, as for the comfort of the seats, the main 4 are very accommodating and soft, so no complaints in this department, although it's worth noting that the rear middle seat is unsurprisingly a little bit more stiff. Now, at the front of the cabin, it is worth pointing out here that you have got heated functionalities and adjustments that come fitted as standard, and you've also got a heated steering wheel. In the Ultimate and GSE trims, you'll also find a heated windscreen, which goes on top of the soundproofing. And note, this is not an option in the entry-level GS model. Now, if you do want to splash out an extra £2,100 on an option on the Ultimate or GSE trims only, you will find Napa leather seats with massage functionality and also ventilated. In other words, they've also got cooling functionalities. The rear outer seats also become heated. Aside from all of this, it is worth pointing out that in the Ultimate trim only, you'll have a sunroof with a retractable sunshade. This is not present as an option in the GSE nor the GS trim. Now, on the subject of its sunroof, this does perfectly bring us onto its exterior design, and well, it's absolutely sumptuous. While looks are subjective, we feel that most people will agree to say that this is a massive step forward in comparison to the previous generation models. It's also more in line with the rest of Vauxhall's offerings, for example the Mocha, whereby it has the same sort of design philosophy. At the front, you've got this bit more of this aggressive design. Towards the side, it's quite sporty, specifically the fact that you have got body-coloured wheel arches and side skirts, which then again tune very well with the 17 or 18-inch alloys, depending on the trim level you go for. And towards the rear, you've still got that sporty flair and with a little bit of a modern twist due to its taillight look. Frankly, we've got no complaints whatsoever as far as the exterior design goes. Now, as for your color options, it comes in white, but if you want the pictured electric yellow or one of the other metallic options, you'll have to splash out £600 to £700. So moving swiftly on, we get onto its driver assistance systems. And here, as standard, you have got adaptive cruise control with stop and go technology. While it does do pretty well in that stop and go sort of traffic scenarios, it doesn't seem to regulate the distance between you and the leading vehicle very well, and therefore means that sometimes you've got this sort of harsh braking, which just doesn't seem to be a good, pleasurable experience, be it for yourself or, for example, the vehicle that's actually following you. Now, you do also have lane assist with lane departure warning, and also emergency brake assist, forward collision warning, and also traffic sign recognition, all of which are appreciated. Now, in the Ultimate and the GSE trims, it goes one step further, whereby you have got blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert, and also lane centering assist with steering assist. Now, this is certainly appreciated because it takes away the stress on those more mundane and longer motorway trips and allows you to effectively enjoy the comforts of the car instead. So moving past this, we get onto visibility and parking. And here towards the front, it's a little bit hit and miss. And by that I mean that it's very easy to peer over the bonnet, but due to the positioning of the rear view mirror, it means it kind of obscures my 10 or 11 o'clock view. Somewhat of a complaint that I've had previously of other vehicles from the Stellantis group, and unfortunately the same applies to the Vauxhall Astra hybrid. Now, nonetheless, towards the side, no issues whatsoever in order for you to check your blind spot, and equally the way that the A-pillars have been designed, it means it's quite easy when you're taking a corner. Now, as for the rear, it's a little bit limited, but thanks to the inclusion of a rear wiper, front and rear parking sensors, and 360-degree cameras, I don't feel it's a problem at all when it comes to rear view visibility, because all the other systems that combine mean that you've got a very easy means of actually parking the vehicle. Now, a very small point that I would like to make, however, is the noise the indicator makes. I know this seems like a very small point, but something that you might be using quite often. So if I'm indicating right, it just sounds off. I don't know quite how to explain it, but it just doesn't sound right. And as soon as I sat in the vehicle, I did notice straight away that this weird sound was coming from the indicator. It just seems to be artificially produced and isn't quite appreciated, at least not in my books. So with all that in mind, it brings us onto our verdict of the Vauxhall Astra plug-in hybrid E. And on the whole, it's actually pretty impressive. So here you've got a very snazzy exterior design, a practical interior with the right sort of technology implementation and safety assistance systems. Then you've also got a pretty fun powertrain and one that's also pretty efficient, at least in comparison to some alternatives out there. But it is worth considering that the rear occupancy space and boot capacity simply won't compete with some larger saloon or hatchbacks out there. Now, the biggest consideration that you should have, however, is its overall asking price. See, here at £37,000 for the GS trim and around £40,000 for the GSE or the Ultimate trim that we have on review, there's simply some other alternatives that we would recommend over it. See, here you've got the likes of Honda, Citroën, Seat, Skoda, Volkswagen, even the likes of Audi and Mercedes-Benz, all of which that we've reviewed, and you can find them down in the description below. Let alone that, you've got some fully electric vehicles that hit north of 200 miles in real-world tests, and again, there might be considerations, at least if you can fit it around your sort of setup. Suffice to say, there are plenty of options out there, and we'd be intrigued to know which ones you would pick, be it if it's the Vauxhall Astra or other. Now, if you've liked this independent detailed review, definitely do consider dropping a like, subscribing and hitting that bell notification, all of which would be greatly appreciated. As such, I've been Chris from TotallyEV, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.